Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik, and let's just go straight into it. We really don't have much going on right now because, like I said, training camp is next month, so can't wait to see what's in store for the Grizzlies going into next year. But we're just gonna look into next season and some things that the average viewer or average fan may not think about. We're here to talk about it right here. So one of the things that we need to talk about is what's next for Brandon Clark. I mean, because if you've heard on the channel before, I've gone in detail about what's next for Brandon Clark and how we gotta have some uncomfortable conversations about a lot of players who were here from the jump and what's next for them. So I found this post in the Memphis Grizzlies subreddit, basically talking about what are your hopes for Brandon Clark. Before I even get into that, if you don't understand like why this is such a pretty big topic, it's because Brandon Clark is essentially going to be expected to play some minutes in the five spot. I don't know if that's exactly confirmed, but it's expected, especially with Zach Edey being hurt, Jaren Jackson Jr. being hurt, and then there not being a set backup five. I mean, you got Jock Landale, and that's pretty much it, but they're also going to lean on Brandon Clark. But the thing is, Brandon Clark has been injury prone the last few seasons. Obviously, last year his season ended early after a PCL tear. There was another year where he suffered an ACL injury, and Brandon Clark has just dealt with a lot of injuries over the course of the last 3-4 years, and it's honestly kind of surprising to see that he's really still on the team. If I'm being honest, because he's not as athletic as he used to be. He's tried his outside game when it comes to shooting. It never really worked out for him. And then obviously, the Grizzlies picking on Zach Edey, kind of hit him a bit. So it's kind of tough to say that Brandon Clark, what they expect from him, because it really is just kind of tough to assess, is the word we'll say. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, just some of the responses. I mean, Brandon Clark, he's good for the team, but I think when it comes down to it, I think we're at that point where, and I've said this on record, I believe. I think the injuries are just too much to overcome for Brandon Clark as far as being on the team, and then um, just overall, I feel like he's not gonna fit the system. I think with the current roster, he doesn't fit the system. He doesn't really fit what the team needs. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's undersized for the five position and doesn't really have an outside game when it comes to a jumper, and that to me is a big concern because he's adamant on that floater game. But like I said, it doesn't help if you're getting hurt, and all of his injuries have been lower leg injuries, so that does not help either. And I think if I'm the Grizzlies, I would want to avoid another year of dealing with that. So if there was somebody to move on from, I'd say see if you can get some good value out of Brandon Clark before that value just cripples, which it kind of already has. So hopefully they jump on that because right now it's not looking good at all. But while we talk about the system, what we expect? Got an article right here. Pull this up real quick. This from Bill Street Bears. They put out an article basically saying what's there to kind of look out for in Tuama's Isolo's system. This froze. Okay, it froze. Jeez. Okay. Technology. Technology ain't working. It's all right. We move on. That's why we got multiple devices. So give me just 1 second, y'all. Sorry about that. All right. So Isolo's system is one that we can expect, and this is according to this article, and they have more inside look with the team than I do because I don't work with the media anymore. Um, One of the things that they did highlight was the fact that the Grizzlies went very heavy on a few of their needs, which is a good sign. It's a very good sign. One of the things that they really highlighted was the fact that the Grizzlies beefed up defense for that matter. That's something that's good. All right, we're good now. So the Grizzlies ranked last year in the top 10 of defense efficiency and 11th defensive rating for the entire season, but in the second half of the season they took a step back. Yeah, and that actually was that was part of the reason why they ended up playing under 500 in after the All-Star break. So I think adding defensive prowess like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, potentially Cedric Coward. We still don't know much about him. And then you got guys like Jalen Wells. Who am I trying to say? Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., even Vince Williams Jr. The Grizzlies are essentially kind of focusing back on that idea of being defensive heavy, which is good because clearly defense worked good for them at first because when it did, the Grizzlies were the second seed in the league. In the West. So good to see that. Another thing they did was three-point shooting, obviously with additions like Ty Jerome and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The Grizzlies weren't necessarily a horrible three-point shooting team, but there were a lot of times where they were struggling to find the shot. So hopefully these guys can bring that spark that sometimes may be needed. And another thing, we can expect more screens to be set, more pick and rolls. Obviously, with guys like Zach Edey, potentially Jock Landale, Jaren Jackson Jr., guys like that, we can expect more pick and rolls because that's something that we did see towards the end of last year. And for a moment, it worked. It's just a matter of who is going to be in those pick and rolls because those things can fluctuate. And obviously, if they fluctuate, looking at a different ball game and who does what and what the lineups look like. And I really feel like this system. I think we have to give a sample size of the first 10 games because we have no idea what these lineups are going to look like, and it really is dependent on how they want the system to look based off what we already know. So, speaking of lineups, we talked about Cedric Coward, we talked about all these players, Scottie Pippen Jr., just multiple players, but we never really talked about G.G. Jackson. What is the outlook this season for G.G. Jackson? One thing that I think Gigi needs to do to get on the good side of the coaches is he needs to find his shot consistently. What I mean by that is for the volume of shots that Gigi shoots, it needs to be able to go in. I'm talking, if you're going to shoot a good amount of threes, I need you to shoot at least 35-40% from three. If you're gonna try to score off the dribble, you need to be able to drive at will. And I feel like that's something that compared to year one to now, we kind of saw Gigi drop off from that. Now, I don't know if that was a confidence thing or not, but hopefully he can find that within himself. I mean, Gigi's 20 years old. With Desmond Bane now, the spot is up for grabs and who does what. So, got to really look at that. Summer League was pretty okay for Gigi. I didn't really see anything that just stood out for him that we already didn't see. I think it's just a matter of reiterating what he can be good at and kind of just sticking to that because I really feel like if Gigi doesn't get to that point, we could be looking in a situation where the team just simply just decides, hey, it's not worth it. And I think the Grizzlies want to prevent that because Gigi does have a lot of value. So I think as long as he stays healthy, gets that confidence to be, one of the best scorers on the floor, we're looking at a potential bounce back year for G.G. Jackson. But it also depends on, how many minutes he gets. Because I really feel like last year, G.G. took a drop off because of confidence. And I could tell in confidence because he was very hesitant to shoot shots. And even when he got shots, it felt rushed. It felt off target, things of that nature. Some shots barely even hitting rim. So I think as long as G.G. Jackson develops that confidence, we're good. But I will say one thing that I did notice from Gigi, he is maturing. He is maturing as a player and a person, which is always good for a team like the Grizzlies who's gaining more veteran leadership. So if he can kind of transition himself into that role of, hey, I was in this spot before, now I'm going to teach the younger guys who were in my position, even though G.G. Jackson is the younger guy, hey, it always helps. That's all I'm saying. It always helps. So before we get out of here, if you don't know, or if you were sleeping under a rock, I don't know what to tell you. A lot of people may not know him. I know him, but Twitch streamer iShowSpeed was in Memphis. And if you don't know, Speed has millions of followers. Basically, he's doing a tour of America, and he was in Memphis. I'm talking touring Beale Street, East Memphis, near the U of M campus, all these things. But in that clip when he was downtown, he actually met up with John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr. And it looked like that. It looked like they were both coming from practice. So definitely good to see that John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr. are in the lab. So definitely saw that, and I was like, okay, we're not staying away from the truth of what we're being told, because we were told that John Moran has been in the lab, and clearly he has been in the lab. Now for Jaren, he was in street clothes, so maybe he got dressed after practice or something. I don't know, but then again, Jaren is hurt, so there's no telling how much he actually practiced, but I would assume he practiced a little bit considering he was at the facility. I don't think he was there just for the sake of being on a live stream. I think he was also there just practicing a bit, doing what he can while he rehabs that toe injury. So definitely just something that I thought I'd bring to y'all, because this did get a lot of attention, and I'm sure if you are on social media, you probably saw it a bit. So definitely shout out to Speed for that, and shout out to him as well. He also painted Memphis in a great light. Even talked to the mayor a bit. Went around the city just hanging out with different people. He even hung out with Moneybag Yo, and they were hitting the pool and stuff like that. So shout out to I Show Speed for that. Definitely putting Memphis in a great light, especially in a time where a lot of people, including the leadership in our country, is talking bad on the city before things that we're trying to control but can't really control. You know what I'm saying? So thought I'd just point that out. But that's a wrap on this edition of Grizzlies Daily. Y'all, we are one step closer to preseason start. I think we're officially about a month away, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I'm ready. I actually just got the schedule from my job at the FedEx Forum. So preseason is going to start soon, and I can't wait for it to start. Hopefully, y'all can see me there. Hopefully, I see some of y'all. Hopefully, we can chop it up about Grizzlies stuff. And like I said, I am, gonna rebrand this. Well, not rebrand, but I'm gonna improve these things to kind of improve them for y'all as the season goes on. Can't wait to bring y'all these game recaps, because I pay attention to these games a lot, and there's a lot of things that I catch or other people catch that I didn't catch that I love to talk about. So to be able to bring it to y'all, I'm always grateful for the opportunity. So if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications when we drop the next video, and that way you'll be ready for when the season does start, and you get the next edition of the Grizzlies Daily. But as for this edition, I'll be signing off, and I'll see y'all on Monday.